What happens when companies just give up on trying to fill jobs? What do you think would happen in our country if multiple companies did this? If every company, every small business decided to say, screw it, we don't need to try to hire anybody anymore. I think we're good with what we've got. We've made it fine with the skeleton crew, so let's just stick with that. What do you think would happen if all the companies did it at the same time, and their managers are saying, man, it really feels like we're in a recession, and I don't really think we can afford to hire anybody because anybody we bring in, it's going to feel like we might just have to let them go the next month or two. What do you think would happen if all the companies did that at the same time? From Yahoo News, the number of job openings has declined sharply in every state. The number of job openings and unemployed people is roughly in balance for the first time in years. The number of job openings has declined sharply in every state since 2022, better aligning the numbers of unfilled jobs and people seeking work. Nationally, for the first time since before the pandemic, the number of job openings and unemployed people is roughly in balance. A little more than one opening per person looking for work, according to state-line analysis of U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data. At the height of the labor shortage in 2022, there were 2 job openings per seeker. As of April, the ratio is down to 1.2 openings per person. But the proportion of workers to jobs ranges widely from state to state. In California, where layoffs in tech and the film industry have unsettled the job market, there's less than 1 opening per unemployed person. In North Dakota, where a brain drain has left the shortage of skilled and educated workers, there are almost 3 openings per unemployed person. Federal government defines a job opening. Now, this is really important. The federal government defines a job opening as an available person that an employer wants to fill within a month. Okay. So a job opening is an available position that an employer wants to fill within a month. So what happens if the employer doesn't want to fill the job within a month? So if an employer wants to hire somebody within a month, that number gets counted with the government, and they keep track of the numbers, the statistics. When the statistics show that an employer wants to hire somebody within a month, that means that position is open. So that's how the federal government defines a job opening. And of course, this only applies to employers who actually report that they're looking for somebody within a month. Now, if you're an employer, if you're an owner of a lemonade stand and you don't plan on hiring anybody, or maybe you plan on hiring 5 people, but you don't tell the government, it won't be part of their statistics. See, we have to deal with this a lot. We have to deal with this a lot, where we have these news articles that come out and they talk about things from the perspective of the government and what they're getting and what they receive. But it doesn't really match, especially right now. It does not match with real life, because frankly, I could tell you a lot of employers that I talk to, they are concerned about hiring people. They don't want to hire people. Some do. In certain industries, they do. But a lot of them, they're just kind of trying to hold back. Because in all honesty, even though many of these companies survived over the last 4 years when other small companies went out of business, many of these employers are simply not willing to try to expand or grow. They're just trying to maintain. And this is actually a scary point in our history, where employers a lot of them are just trying to maintain what they've got, because they saw a lot of their friends who owned other businesses that, went out of business during COVID. A lot of companies didn't survive that. And, it's kind of one of those things that we like to not talk about. We like to forget that so many companies went out of business during COVID. We don't like to talk about that. But I think what is really interesting is if we look at this article, it reads very positively, like things are going really well. And the only places where they're not going so well is, are places like California and stuff like that. And they can easily excuse it. So they kind of put this part in here where, they talk about somebody who is in software or some sort of tech position And if you have a lot of experience, you're fine, but otherwise, you're not fine. And so whenever we're talking about the unemployment, remember, these are just numbers that are recorded with the unemployment office. Because if you don't give jobs to the unemployment office, they can't track what the unemployment rate is. And we've all been conditioned to believe that smaller is better when it comes to the unemployment rate. But in reality, right now, it feels like, and they record that the unemployment rate is, 2% or whatever it may be. But that's only because that's what it is of the numbers that are recorded to the government. That has nothing to do with the people who are actually working or the people who quit trying to get a job through the unemployment office. See, if you don't try to get a job through the unemployment office, they have no clue. They really don't know. And, in general, I kind of get it. For the most part, just the law of averages says, this will be a fairly decent representation of the entire country. But we're not there. Folks, we're not there anymore. We're not there to where what the unemployment office is doing is a fair representation of what is happening in reality. But they like to, but this article definitely reads very positively. And one word kind of jumped out at me. Let's see if I can find it. I think I saw balance at least once. Oh, here we go. Oh, three times. Okay. So the word balance is used. So right here, the number of payrolls that business added or subtracted, net balance. Okay, I think that was, that's 3 of 3. Okay. So at the top of the article, it says roughly, okay, U.S. job openings and unemployment people is roughly in balance. So we say roughly, okay, in balance for the first time in years. So roughly can really mean about anything. And in balance for the first time in years, balance makes it sound like this is a positive thing, that this is something that we want. We want life to be in balance. And so therefore the word balance really means something here, that this is a good thing. And then down here we have it again. Okay. Nationally, for the first time since the pandemic, the number of job openings and unemployed people is roughly in balance. Okay, they say it again, roughly in balance. At the height of the labor shortage in 2022, there were 2 job openings per job seekers. So there were 2 jobs per 1 job seeker. As of April, the ratio is down to 1.2 openings per person. So about, or roughly, 1 person per 1 job. Of course, there's no way this is actually going to work out okay, because you're gonna have people who's like, oh, I'm looking for a job. We need construction. Where's that 1 person for my construction job? And then, you find somebody who's like, I'm a tech nerd. I'm not going to do construction. So we're definitely are going to have an imbalance, and that's going to happen every year no matter what. But just from a statistic standpoint, this looks like this probably would be a good situation. So you'd have 1 job for 1 person, and that sounds like that's kind of like a fairy tale utopian sort of statistic. But, I have some problems with this article, and there are a lot of things that are going on that impact everybody and is going to massively impact the statistics here. So what's the real issue going on here? In our country, there's a shift in culture. There's a shift of people who have decided that working in the private sector, working in the government, working all this other stuff, it's not for them. They don't want to go in the office because we have given up. Job seekers are fed up with the idea that they have to go work in an office in order to make money. That they have to go and work in the office, work for somebody else in order to be happy, to set up their lives, to, be the little turtle who eventually ends up winning in the end when they get their retirement at 90 years old and then they're finally able to enjoy life. People have given up on that. Now, if you're out there and you don't have a job, just understand, people have moved on. People are finding ways to make money outside of the 9 to 5. And so if you're looking for a job right now, just understand that most people are looking for multiple revenue streams, because just working a 9 to 5 job isn't enough anymore. If you're an employer and you're hiring people, just understand, I know it sucks, but a lot of employees are refusing to work for $40,000 a year. It just isn't good enough anymore. And so now we have no choice. Now job seekers have been pushed into a corner, and have been pushed into a corner to where now we have no choice but to have multiple revenue streams. And so how is that going to have an effect on an article like this, on the statistics with the government? Well, because first of all, people who are working for themselves or who have given up looking for work, they're no longer counted. See, these statistics only count if you're actually actively looking for work. That's the first thing. The other thing, so if you're not really looking for work, you're not counted in this. I'm not counted in this. Many of you probably aren't counted in this because I don't go to the unemployment office. And so if you don't go to the unemployment office or never plan on going to the unemployment office, you'll never be counted. And so many people are either just giving up on looking for work altogether because it's so aggravating, or they've simply decided to be self-employed and they simply decide to generate revenue streams on their own. They're being creative. They're doing different things. They're trying to find ways to make money because they cannot depend on the 9-to-5 employer. And on the flip side of that, we have employers who maybe want to hire more people, but they're afraid. They're afraid that what happened to their friends during the pandemic is going to happen to them. They're afraid that no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to maintain their company. See, a lot of employers are just like you and me. They're just regular people. They want to take care of the family. They want to take care of their community. They want to pass on their legacy to their kids. Now, this doesn't always work out. However, that's all they want. And if hiring more people hurts their company, hurts their bottom line, hurts their ability to build wealth for their family and for their community, they're not going to do it. Now, in the past, many of these companies wanted to build, they wanted to grow. And some are, to be honest, some are. But many of them are afraid. They're just afraid. And so what is that going to do to these statistics? Where employers simply stopped working. Employers simply stopped trying to add more people. They've stopped working with the unemployment office. And then job seekers simply have said, screw this, I'm not going to do it anymore. And they quit working with the unemployment office. These statistics here are wrong. And they are wildly out of whack. Because many people simply want nothing to do with the unemployment office. And it's not because they're good, not because they're bad, but because they're not helping anymore. Because what we really need is our jobs. What we really need is manufacturing in our country. We have too many people who are living off the government, too many people who are underpaid. A lot of jobs, what they're paying just isn't keeping up. And so what does that mean? It means many of us have to find other ways to take care of ourselves, take care of our families. So as we continue to see and to hear about the wonderful unemployment rate sticking around 2%, it's going to stay there. And it's not so much because of intentional manipulation of the data. It's just because most people are no longer working with the unemployment office. And as things continue, you're going to have government leaders, you're going to have presidents and Congress people that are going to say, well, the unemployment rate is 2%. Things are wonderful. But we all know the truth. We know that things are falling apart. We know that we're in a recession. And we know that tough times are ahead. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm 𝐸𝐴𝐸. This is JobFerno. If you have any questions, send me an email at questions@jobferno.com. And as always, choose skills over money.